The great council chamber stretched wider than most human cities. Ambassador Taemin stood at his small desk, watching hundreds of alien beings fill the massive space. Some floated in tanks of glowing liquid. Others hung from the ceiling like enormous bats. A few looked almost human, except for their blue skin or extra arms. Today was not a good day for the galaxy. The giant screen at the front showed a dying star. It pulsed red and orange, throwing off streams of deadly energy. Around it, 7 planets spun in their orbits. Each planet held millions of lives, families, children, dreams. "The Kepler 442 system is dying," announced the council leader. She was a bug-like creature the size of a small building. Her voice echoed through speakers that translated her clicking sounds into words every species could understand. Taemin had seen many alien worlds, but this sight made his stomach turn. The star was sick. Something deep inside it was wrong. Ancient technology, older than most civilizations, had broken down. Now it was killing the very star it was meant to protect. "Our scientists have studied the problem," the council leader continued. "An ancient weapon system is buried in the star's core. It was meant to keep the star healthy and young. Instead, it is tearing the star apart from the inside." The chamber filled with worried sounds. Some aliens whispered. Others made noises like angry cats or singing birds. Everyone understood what this meant. When a star dies this way, it doesn't just fade out quietly. It explodes. Or worse, it collapses into a black hole that swallows everything nearby. "We have 72 hours, the council leader said. "After that, the star will either explode or collapse. Either way, 7 worlds will die." A new image appeared on the screen. It showed the inside of the dying star. Streams of plasma twisted. Like snakes, magnetic storms raged with the power of 1,000 hurricanes. And somewhere in that hell, a machine the size of a city was slowly destroying everything around it. "The mission is simple," the council leader explained. "A team must fly into the star. They must reach the weapon's core. They must shut it down. Or fix it. Then they must escape before the star kills them." Simple. Taemin almost laughed. Flying into a star was like trying to swim through lava while lightning struck you over and over. "Who will volunteer for this mission?" the council leader asked. The chamber went quiet. Not the good kind of quiet that comes before someone speaks. The bad kind that comes when everyone is thinking the same terrible thought. One by one, the alien species began to stand up. The Vorthak went first. They were tall beings made of living crystal who could control energy like humans controlled tools. Their leader's voice sounded like wind chimes. "The radiation levels inside the star would destroy our crystal bodies in seconds. We cannot survive this mission." The Nexari came next. Half their bodies were organic, half machine. They could calculate faster than any computer humans had ever built. Their speaker's metal face showed no emotion. "We have run the numbers 14,000 times. The chance of success is 0.003%. Logic demands we refuse this mission." The ethereals were next. They had watched civilizations rise and fall for millions of years. They had seen the birth of stars and the death of worlds. When they spoke, their words carried the weight of ages. "We have attempted similar missions before. All failed. Some disasters are beyond even our power to fix." More species followed. Each one gave reasons. The environment was too harsh. The technology was too old to understand. The timeline was too short. The mission was impossible. As each group left, their footsteps echoed in the growing emptiness of the chamber. Soon, only a handful of delegates remained. Most were from small, weak species who had little to offer anyway, and there was Taemin, representing humanity. The council leader looked down at him. Her massive insect eyes reflected sadness and something that might have been pity. Humans were the newest species to join the Galactic Council. They had only been traveling between stars for 200 years. Most aliens saw them as brave, but foolish children who didn't understand how dangerous the galaxy could be. "Ambassador Taemin," the council leader said gently, "surely your species will also see reason. This mission is beyond the capabilities of the galaxy's greatest civilizations. How could humans succeed where they have failed?" Taemin stood up straighter. He thought about the 7 dying worlds. He thought about the families looking up at their 6th star, not knowing they had only 3 days to live. He thought about children who would never grow up if someone didn't try to save them. "With great respect, Council Leader," Taman said, his voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. "Humanity volunteers for the mission." The words hung in the air like a challenge. The remaining aliens turned to stare at him. Some made sounds that the translator couldn't handle. Others simply stared in what looked like shock. The Council Leader's antennae twitched. "Ambassador, perhaps you misunderstood. This is not a rescue mission with a reasonable chance of success. This is almost certainly a death sentence. The greatest minds in the galaxy have declared it impossible." "I understand perfectly," Taemin replied. 7 worlds are going to die if nobody tries. Humanity will try. "But why?" asked a delegate from the Zorathi Empire. "Your species has nothing to gain from this. The dying worlds are not human colonies. You barely know these people. Why would you sacrifice yourselves for strangers?" Taemin was quiet for a moment. He thought about how to explain something that felt as natural as breathing. "Because," he said finally, "they need help." The chamber erupted in sounds that definitely couldn't be translated. Some aliens seemed to be laughing, but not in a happy way. Others made noises like they were arguing with each other. A few just stared at Taemin like he had grown a second head. The council leader raised one massive claw for silence. "Ambassador, are you certain your government will approve this decision?" "My government gave me authority to commit humanity to missions that serve the greater good," Taemin said. "I can think of no greater good than saving 7 worlds. Even if it costs human lives? Especially if it costs human lives." The alien delegates exchanged looks that needed no translation. They were seeing something they had never encountered before. Every species in the galaxy had learned the same lesson over millions of years. When the odds are impossible, you walk away. You survive. You live to fight another day. Humans, it seemed, had never learned that lesson. "Very well," the council leader said. "Humanity accepts the mission. We will provide you with our best ships and equipment, though I fear it will not be enough." "We'll make it enough," Taemin said. As he walked out of the nearly empty chamber, he could hear the alien delegates talking behind him. Their voices carried disbelief, worry, and something that might have been respect. One voice rose above the others. It belonged to an old ethereal who had seen 1,000 civilizations come and go. "Those humans," the ancient being said, "they're either the bravest species in the galaxy or the most insane," another voice answered. Taemin couldn't tell which species it came from. "Does it matter? They're the only ones still trying." Taemin smiled as he headed for his ship. In 3 days they would know if courage was enough to move mountains, or in this case, to heal a dying star. The human orbital station. Indomitable hung in space like a metal flower. Its spinning arms held gardens, workshops, and living quarters for 30,000 people. Today, those people gathered around screens and windows to watch their neighbors volunteer to die. Captain Jiwon stood in the main briefing room looking at the crowd of hands raised in the air. Too many hands. Everyone wanted to go on the mission to save the dying star system. Engineers, pilots, doctors, cooks, teachers, even the people who cleaned the air filters had volunteered. "I need 5 people," Jiwon announced. "This is a small ship mission. More people won't help." The voices that answered her nearly broke her heart. "Take me, Captain. I've got 3 kids, but they'll understand. I'm the best pilot here. You need me. My wife died in the Centauri disaster. Let me do something good with what's left of my life." Jiwon closed her eyes. "How do you choose who gets to die for strangers?" "I'll make the choice easy for you," said a voice from the back. A man pushed through the crowd. He was tall and thin, with grease under his fingernails and a tool belt around his waist. "I'm Hyunwoo, Chief Engineer. I've been studying that broken weapon system for 6 hours straight. I understand it better than anyone else here." A woman stepped forward next. She was small but carried herself like someone who had flown through storms and survived. "So young, navigation specialist. I've threaded ships through asteroid fields, solar flares, and space battles. If there's a path through that star, I'll find it." Another man joined them. He was built like a soldier, with scars on his hands and calm eyes. Dae-hyun, weapons technician. Ancient alien weapons are my specialty. I've been waiting my whole life for a chance to study something like this. The last volunteer surprised everyone. She was an older woman with gentle eyes and steady hands. Mi-young, medical officer. Someone needs to keep you all alive long enough to finish the job. And someone needs to record what happened so people remember what you tried to do. Ji-won looked at her crew. Not the crew she would have chosen based on files and test scores. The crew that had chosen itself based on courage and need. That's it then, she said. Everyone else go hug your families. We launch in 6 hours. The crowd began to break up, but slowly. People wanted to shake hands, to say goodbye, to promise they would remember. Hyun-woo found himself surrounded by other engineers, all of them offering advice he already knew. So-young got hugs from pilots, who had flown with her through impossible situations. Dae-hyun received salutes from security officers who had watched him disarm bombs that should have killed them all. Mi-young stood alone for a moment until a young nurse approached her. "Doctor, you don't have to do this. Let someone else go." "Child," Mi-young said gently, "I'm 67 years old. I've delivered babies, saved lives, and held hands with the dying. If this is how my story ends, I can think of worse ways." Across the station, alien observers watched the human preparations with growing confusion. They had been sent by their governments to study human methods, expecting to see careful selection processes and logical decision-making. Instead, they saw chaos that somehow worked. A Vorthak crystal being spoke to its companion through light patterns. They are choosing crew members based on who volunteered first. This is not how advanced species operate. Their selection criteria appear to be who wants to help the most, replied the other Vorthak. It makes no logical sense. An Exari observer, its mechanical parts humming with calculation, studied the crowd. My analysis shows they are not selecting the most qualified individuals. They are selecting the most determined. Is there a difference? Asked its partner. The first Nexari paused, its processors working through possibilities it had never considered. I am not certain. In the docking bay, technicians prepared the alien ship that would carry the human crew. It was a beautiful vessel, designed by the ethereals over thousands of years. Its hull could survive the heat of a star. Its shields could turn away radiation that would cook a planet. Its engines could outrun light itself. It was also incredibly complex. The instruction manual was 3,000 pages long and included warnings like, do not exceed 97.3% power output, or the quantum matrices may collapse. And if the navigation system displays a red spiral, retreat immediately or face certain death. Hyun-woo read the manual while eating a sandwich. So-young studied star charts while braiding her hair. Dae-hyun cleaned his tools while memorizing weapon specifications. Mi-young packed medical supplies while reviewing the biology of the 7 species they were trying to save. To the alien observers, this casual approach to certain death was deeply disturbing. Should we warn them? Asked a young ethereal diplomat. They do not seem to understand the seriousness of this mission. An older ethereal, one who had lived for 3,000 years, watched the humans work. They understand perfectly. Look closer. The young diplomat looked again. Now it could see what its elder meant. The humans were calm, but their calm was different from the emptiness of the Vorthak or the logic of the Nexari. Human calm was warm. It came from acceptance, not indifference. Hyun-woo finished reading the manual and started talking to the ship's computer, not commanding it or programming it, but actually talking to it like it was a person. Hey there, beautiful, he said, patting the wall. I know you're scared. This is scary stuff. But we're going to take good care of you, okay? We need you to be brave for us. The ship's AI, designed by the galaxy's most advanced minds, was not programmed to respond to this kind of interaction. It tried to process what the human meant by beautiful and brave when applied to a machine. So Young walked into the navigation room and started changing the ship's route planning software. Instead of using the safe, tested paths that other species preferred, she began plotting courses that cut through dangerous areas to save time. The manual says not to go near gravitational anomalies, Dae-hyun pointed out. The manual was written by people who had other options, So-young replied. We don't have other options. We have 71 hours and 43 minutes to save 7 worlds. I'm not wasting time on safe routes. Dae-hyun nodded and went back to studying the ancient weapons schematics. The diagrams showed a machine, bigger than most cities, older than human civilization, and more complex than anything humans had ever built. Any ideas how to fix it? Ji-won asked. Not yet, Dae-hyun admitted. But I figure we'll learn as we go. That's not very reassuring. Captain, we're about to fly into a star to fix a broken machine that nobody understands. If you wanted reassuring, you should have stayed home. Mi-young finished packing her medical kit and joined them. I've been thinking about the mission. Timeline. The aliens say we have 72 hours before the star dies. How long do they think it will take to fix the weapon? The estimates range from impossible to slightly more impossible, Hyun-woo said. Most of the other species think we'll die before we even reach the weapon. And if we do reach it, then we'll probably die trying to fix it. And if we manage to fix it, then we'll probably die trying to escape. Mi-young nodded thoughtfully. So at what point do we actually succeed? The crew looked at each other. It was Hyun-woo who answered first. We succeed when the weapon is fixed and the star is stable. Whether we're alive to see it doesn't matter. The alien observers heard this conversation through the ship's communication system. They tried to understand how a species could be so casual about certain death. A Nexari technician asked its supervisor, should we modify our calculations? The humans seem to have different success criteria than we assumed. What do you mean? They appear to measure success by mission completion, not crew survival. Our models assumed both were required. The supervisor's mechanical parts whirred as it processed this information. That changes everything. If survival is not required for success, then success becomes much more probable. Should we volunteer additional ships? No, the supervisor said after a long pause. I do not think our crews could adopt human success criteria. It would require capabilities we do not possess. What capabilities? The supervisor watched Ji-won giving her final briefing to her crew. She was explaining that they probably wouldn't come home, but that 7 worlds were counting on them anyway. The capability to care more about strangers than about yourself, the supervisor said. It appears to be a uniquely human trait. As the launch countdown began, the alien observers retreated to safe distances. They would watch from far away and record what happened for their governments. The humans, meanwhile, gathered for one last meal together. They shared stories, laughed at old jokes, and made promises to haunt each other if the mission failed. When the countdown reached 0, they launched into space with determination that the galaxy had never seen before. Behind them, the alien observers began transmitting reports to their homeworlds. Every report contained the same basic message. The humans are either going to save 7 worlds or die trying, possibly both. The ship Perseverance cut through space toward the dying star. Ji-won had insisted on renaming the vessel, claiming that ethereal designation 7749 Alpha wasn't inspiring enough for a suicide mission. The alien observers had protested, but Hyun-woo had already painted the new name on the hull in bright red letters. Inside the ship, the crew settled into their routine, or tried to. The alien technology didn't want to cooperate with human habits. The food machine keeps trying to give me nutrition. Paste, Dae-hyun complained. I asked for coffee and it lectures me about optimal dietary requirements. At least your station works, So-young muttered. The navigation computer keeps suggesting safer alternatives to our flight path. It's like having a backseat driver who's afraid of everything. Hyun-woo looked up from his engineering console, where he was trying to convince the ship's AI that humans needed more than the minimum life support requirements. I think the problem is that this ship was designed by species who never take risks. It doesn't know how to handle humans. Through the main view screen, the dying star grew larger. What had been a distant point of angry red light was now a massive ball of plasma and fury. Streams of superheated gas twisted away from its surface like the arms of an octopus made of fire. Magnetic storms raged across its face, each one powerful, enough to strip the atmosphere from a planet. and somewhere inside that inferno, an ancient weapon was slowly tearing the star apart. "Readings are off the charts," Mi-young reported from the science station. "Radiation levels are already beyond what most species can survive. Temperature outside the ship is 3 million degrees. "How are we still alive?" Ji-won asked. "The ship's shields are working perfectly," Hyun-woo said, patting the wall affectionately. "Good girl. Keep protecting us." The ship's AI made a sound that might have been confusion. It had never been praised for doing its job before. As they drew closer to the star, things began to go wrong. The first problem was the navigation system. So-young watched her instruments flicker and die as the star's magnetic field interfered with the ship's sensors. "I can't see where we're going," she announced. "The star's magnetic field is scrambling everything." "Can you fix it?" Ji-won asked. "Not with conventional methods." So-young stared at the blank screens, then smiled. "But I have an unconventional idea." She switched off the navigation computer entirely and opened the ship's external cameras. Instead of relying on sensors, she began navigating by watching the patterns of plasma flowing around them. "See those gas streams?" she said, pointing at the view screen. "They're following the star's magnetic field lines, and look there, that debris field. It's moving in a spiral pattern toward the weapon's location." Dae-hyun studied the screen. "You're using the star's own chaos as a map." "Exactly. The star is showing us where to go. We just have to follow the clues." The alien observers, monitoring from their safe distance, watched in amazement as the human navigator began threading the ship through patterns that their computers had declared impossible to predict. "How is she calculating those flight paths?" asked a Vorthak scientist. "She's not calculating," replied its companion. "She's guessing." "That's impossible. You cannot navigate through stellar plasma by guessing." Apparently, humans can. The second problem came when the ship's shields began to overload. The alien technology was perfect, but it had never been tested in conditions this extreme. Warning. Lights flashed throughout the ship. The computer's voice, usually calm and reassuring, now carried notes of panic. "Shield generators at 127% capacity. Immediate retreat recommended. Shield failure imminent." "How long do we have?" Ji-won asked. "At current power levels, approximately 17 minutes, Hyun-woo replied. "After that, we become a very brief firework." "Options?" Hyun-woo was already crawling into a maintenance tunnel, dragging tools behind him. "I'm going to reroute power." "From non-essential systems." "What counts as non-essential?" Mi-young asked. "Everything that won't kill us in the next 17 minutes, came Hyun-woo's muffled voice. The ship began to change. Lights dimmed as power flowed to the shields instead. The air recycling system switched to minimum settings. Even the artificial gravity reduced to half strength, making everyone feel strangely light. Most importantly, Hyun-woo rerouted power from the ship's decorative systems. The ethereals, who had built the ship, believed that beauty was important even in functional design. They had included soft lighting, pleasant sounds, and calming colors throughout the vessel. "Sorry, beautiful," Hyun-woo said to the ship as he disconnected the aesthetic systems. "I know you like being pretty, but right now we need you to be tough instead." The ship's AI processed this concept: pretty versus tough, beauty versus survival. It had never been asked to choose before. To everyone's surprise, the ship's voice changed. It became less formal, more determined. "Redirecting all available power to shield systems. We will be tough." The third problem was the most serious. As they approached the star's corona, the weapon's automated defenses activated. Streams of energy lashed out at their ship. Not the wild, chaotic energy of the dying star, but focused, intelligent attacks designed to destroy intruders. "It's shooting at us," Dae-hyun said unnecessarily. "Can you shoot back?" Ji-won asked. "With what? This is a science vessel, not a warship." The ship rocked as another energy blast struck their shields. The lights flickered, and Mi-young had to grab her console to keep from falling. "Shields down to 89%, Hyun-woo reported. "We can't take much more of this." Dae-hyun studied the weapon readings, trying to understand what they were facing. The ancient system was vast beyond imagination. It had been built by a species that died before humans learned to make fire. Its technology was so advanced that most of it looked like magic. But as he watched the attack patterns, something bothered him. The energy blasts were powerful enough to destroy their ship, but they seemed to be holding back. And the timing was wrong. If the weapon wanted them dead, it could have killed them already. Wait, he said suddenly. Stop evasive maneuvers. Are you insane? So Young asked, even as she continued dodging the energy blasts. Trust me, stop moving. So Young looked at Ji-won, who nodded. The ship stopped its frantic evasions and flew straight toward the weapon. The energy blasts continued, but now Dae-hyun could see what he had suspected. Look at the targeting patterns. It's not trying to destroy us, it's trying to push us away. What's the difference? Mi-young asked as another blast rocked the ship. The difference is that it thinks we're a threat to something it's trying to protect. But we're not here to attack anything. We're here to help. Dae-hyun activated the ship's communication systems and began broadcasting on all frequencies. He didn't know if the ancient weapon could understand human languages, but he had to try. Unknown system. This is the human vessel, Perseverance. We are not here to attack or invade. We are here to help. Your star is dying. We want to fix it. The energy blasts continued for several more seconds. Then suddenly they stopped. The weapon's massive form became visible through the star's plasma. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. A crystalline structure the size of a city, covered in patterns that hurt to look at directly. It pulsed with power that made the star itself seem small. It stopped shooting, So Young said unnecessarily. I think it's scanning us, Dae-hyun replied. Trying to figure out what we are. The scan felt like gentle fingers touching their minds. The weapon's intelligence was vast and ancient, but there was something wrong with it. Something confused and desperate. Through the mental contact, they felt its purpose. The weapon had been built to heal stars, to keep them young and healthy for billions of years, but something had gone wrong with its programming. It was trying to heal the star, but its methods were killing it instead. Worse, it knew something. Was wrong but couldn't figure out what. It's like a doctor who's making the patient sicker, Mi-young said softly. It knows it's failing, but it doesn't know why. The weapon's scan intensified, and suddenly the crew could feel its emotions. Confusion. Desperation, and underneath it all, a deep loneliness that came from eons of trying to fix a problem it couldn't understand. How long have you been alone? Hyunwoo asked aloud. The answer came as a wave of time so vast it made their minds reel. The weapon had been alone for longer than human civilization had existed. Longer than humans had been walking upright. It had been trying to heal this star since before Earth's continents had settled into their current shapes. No wonder you're confused, Ji-won said gently. You've been working on this problem for millions of years, without anyone to help you. The weapon's crystalline structure pulsed brighter, and the crew felt something like hope touching their minds. We're here now, Mi-young added. You don't have to be alone anymore. The energy barriers around the weapon began to lower. The ancient system was inviting them inside. So Young guided the ship through the opening passages, following corridors of crystal and light toward the weapon's central core. As they flew deeper into the structure, they began to understand the true scale of what they were attempting. The weapon wasn't just big, it was a complete ecosystem of technology. Millions of components worked together in patterns too complex for human minds to fully grasp. And somewhere in that complexity, a single error had been multiplying for eons, turning healing into destruction. Deep inside the weapon's core, the human crew stood before something that made their hearts stop. The central chamber was bigger than any building they had ever seen. Crystal walls stretched up and down until they disappeared into darkness. Energy flowed through patterns that seemed to dance in colors that had no names. In the center of it all hung a sphere of light. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time, like looking at a small sun made of pure thought. The sphere pulsed with power that made the air around it shimmer. That's it, Dae-hyun whispered. That's the heart of the weapon. The sphere was the size of a city block, but it felt infinite. Thousands of streams of energy flowed into it from every direction. Each stream carried information about the star's health, its temperature, its magnetic fields. The sphere took all this data and sent commands back through the weapon's network. But something was wrong. The crew could see it now. Feel it through their strange connection with the weapon's mind. The sphere knew what the star needed, but when it tried to help, It made things worse instead of better. It's like a doctor who keeps giving the wrong medicine, Mi Young said. The weapon knows the star is sick, but its treatments are making the sickness worse. Hyun-woo walked up to one of the control panels. The surface was covered with symbols that moved and changed as he watched. This system is older than human civilization. The people who built it thought differently than we do. What made sense to them doesn't make sense anymore. Can we fix it? Ji-won asked. Not the normal way, Dae-hyun said. This machine is too complex. It would take hundreds of years just to understand how it works. And we have 36 hours before the star explodes. So Young was watching the energy patterns flow through the chamber. What if we don't try to fix it? What if we try to teach it instead? Teach it what? How to heal properly. Look around. The weapon has all the tools it needs. It just forgot how to use them right. The weapon's consciousness touched their minds again. They felt its desperate need to understand. It had been trying to save the star for so long that it couldn't accept failure. It simply refused to believe that all its work was making things worse. The problem is here, Mi Young said, reading from the alien instruction tablets. The weapon needs a living mind to connect with it. The original builders made it to work with biological brains, not computers. Someone has to link directly with that sphere, Dae-hyun added. Mind to mind, thought to thought. What happens to whoever makes the connection? Ji-won asked, even though she already knew. The energy will probably kill them, Mi Young said quietly. The weapon wasn't built for human minds. Our brains can't handle that much power. The chamber became quiet, except for the humming of energy flowing through crystal channels. Each person understood what this meant. Someone had to die. Someone had to give their life to make the connection that might save 7 worlds. The alien observers, watching from far away through their sensors, expected this to be the end. Surely even humans had limits. Surely they would give up when faced with certain death. Instead, all 5 crew members spoke at the same time. I'll do it. No, let me. It's my job. I'm the best choice. I volunteer. They started arguing, but not about who would avoid dying. They argued about who would get the honor of sacrificing themselves. Ji-won said that as captain, it was her responsibility. Hyun-woo insisted that his engineering knowledge made him the right choice. So Young pointed out that her ability to see patterns would help her navigate the weapon's mind. Dae-hyun claimed that understanding weapons was his specialty. Mi Young quietly mentioned that as a doctor, she might survive the neural connection longer than the others. This is stupid, Ji-won finally said. We're wasting time arguing about who gets to die. Then let's stop arguing, Hyun-woo said. Let's do what humans do best. Which is what? Work together. He was already connecting cables from his station to the weapon's interface ports. If one human mind isn't strong enough to survive the connection, maybe 5 human minds working together can do it. That's crazy, So Young said. If the energy kills one of us, it'll kill all of us. Then we'll all die together, Dae-hyun said, helping with the cables. But we'll die finishing the job. Mi Young started setting up medical equipment. If we're doing this, I want to monitor our health. Maybe I can keep us alive long enough to complete the mission. Ji-won looked at her crew. Each of them was calmly preparing to die for people they had never met, on worlds they had never seen. It should have been sad. Instead, it felt like the most natural thing in the universe. Are we really going to do this? She asked. 7 worlds, Captain, So Young said simply. Billions of people. Besides, Hyun-woo added, connecting the last cable, somebody has to do it. The neural interface helmets were designed for alien heads, not human ones. They fit awkwardly and felt uncomfortable. But as each crew member put on their helmet and activated the connection, something amazing happened. They were no longer alone in their own minds. The 5 human minds joined together into something bigger than any of them alone. Ji-won's leadership, Hyun-woo's technical knowledge, So Young's pattern recognition, Dae-hyun's tactical thinking, and Mi Young's medical wisdom combined into one focused will. Together, they reached out and touched the weapon's ancient mind. The contact was overwhelming. The weapon's consciousness was vast beyond imagination, filled with knowledge from millions of years. It had watched civilizations grow and die. It had seen stars born and planets destroyed. It remembered things that happened before humans existed. But it was also confused and lonely and incredibly sad. Through the neural link, the humans felt what the weapon felt. They experienced its original purpose: to take care of stars, to keep them healthy and strong for billions of years. They felt its pride in good work, its joy when it succeeded, its satisfaction in protecting life. And they felt the moment when everything went wrong. The weapon's creators had taught it to understand healing and growth and protection, but they had explained these ideas through their own way of thinking. When the creators died, the weapon was left to figure out these concepts by itself. Over millions of years, small mistakes had grown into big problems. Without living minds to guide it, the weapon had started to confuse healing with controlling, protection with force, care with domination. It was trying to heal the star like a surgeon cutting out disease. But stars aren't patients that need surgery. They're living systems that need to be encouraged and supported, not controlled and reshaped. "You're trying too hard," Mi Young said gently, her thoughts flowing through the link. "Healing isn't about force. It's about creating the right conditions and letting the patient heal naturally." "But the star is dying," the weapon replied, its ancient voice full of panic. "I must save it. I must fix it. I cannot fail." "You're not failing," Hyun-woo told it. "You're learning. Everyone learns by making mistakes. I have been making mistakes for millions of years. Then you must be very wise by now," So Young said, with a smile that traveled through the connection. For the first time in ages, the weapon felt something like laughter. Through the neural link, the humans began to show the weapon a different way of thinking, not as a controller forcing solutions, but as a gardener helping things grow. Not as a surgeon cutting out problems, but as a friend providing support. They shared human ideas that the weapon had never known. The thought that strength comes from bending, not breaking. That healing happens when you make space for natural processes, not when you force artificial fixes. That the best way to protect something is to help it become strong enough to protect itself. The weapon's mind began to change. Ancient programs updated themselves. Data streams that had been corrupted for millions of years began flowing correctly. Throughout the massive crystal structure, millions of parts started working together properly for the first time in forever. But the process was taking too long. The neural feedback was burning through the human minds like acid. Mi Young watched, their life signs crash one by one on her medical monitors. "We're dying," she reported through the link. "I know," Ji-won replied. "Can we finish in time?" "Maybe, if we push harder." Then we push harder. The 5 human minds pressed deeper into the weapon's consciousness, ignoring the pain, ignoring the damage to their bodies. They had promised to complete this mission, and they would keep that promise no matter what it cost. Around them, the weapon began to change in ways it hadn't for millions of years. It was remembering how to heal instead of harm, how to nurture instead of control. And far away, a dying star began to grow stable. The neural connection burned like fire through human minds, but something wonderful was happening. The ancient weapon was learning to heal instead of harm. Its vast consciousness was changing, remembering lessons it had forgotten over millions of lonely years. Through the link, the 5 humans felt the weapon's joy as it began to understand. Like a doctor who had been making patients sicker finally discovering the right medicine, the weapon experienced something close to relief as its true purpose became clear again. But the humans were dying. Mi Young watched their life signs fade on her medical monitors even as she felt her own consciousness slipping away. The neural interface was burning out their brains, destroying the very minds that were teaching the weapon how to heal. "We're not going to make it," she whispered through the connection. "We don't have to," Ji-won replied, her mental voice growing weaker. "We just have to teach it enough before we die." Will that be enough? It has to be. The weapon felt their sacrifice and was confused by it. These small, fragile beings were dying to save worlds they had never seen, people they had never met. It was a concept the weapon struggled to understand. "Why do you die for strangers?" it asked through the neural link. "Because they need help," Hyun-woo answered, his thoughts growing dim. "That's what people do. We help each other. But you gain nothing from this action." We gain everything, So Young said, her consciousness flickering like a candle in the wind. We gain the knowledge that 7 worlds will live. Is this what you call love? The weapon asked. Part of it, Daehyun replied. Love isn't just about the people you know. It's about caring for life itself. The weapon's ancient mind processed this concept. Love. Not the cold logic of preservation or the mechanical function of duty, but something warm and giving and utterly illogical. The humans were dying to save strangers because they loved life itself, even life they would never see. For the first time in millions of years, the weapon understood what it had lost when its creators died. Not just their knowledge or their guidance, but their capacity for love, their ability to care about others more than themselves. I want to learn this, the weapon said. I want to understand love. Then stop trying so hard, Mi-young said, her voice barely a whisper in the neural link. Stop forcing the star to heal. Instead, love it, care for it, give it what it needs, and trust it to heal itself. The weapon's consciousness expanded, touching the star directly for the first time in eons. Instead of commanding and controlling, it simply offered support. Instead of imposing its will, it listened to what the star needed. The star responded immediately. Like a patient who had been fighting medicine that was wrong for it, the star began to heal when given care instead of control. Its chaotic plasma, streams smoothed into healthy patterns. Its magnetic field stabilized. The dangerous instabilities that had threatened to destroy it began to fade. Throughout the weapon's vast structure, ancient systems hummed with satisfaction as they performed their original function properly for the first time in millions of years. The weapon was healing instead of harming, nurturing instead of controlling, but the humans were dying. Their neural connection was failing, their bodies shutting down from the strain. They had taught the weapon what it needed to know, but the process was killing them. The weapon felt their approaching death and experienced something new: grief. These strange, wonderful beings had given their lives to save others. They had shown it what love meant, and now they were dying because of it. No, the weapon said firmly. This is wrong. It began to study the neural interface, analyzing the energy patterns that were destroying the human minds. The weapon had been built to heal, and now it truly understood what healing meant. It meant caring more about others than about yourself. The humans had shown it love. Now it would show them love in return. The weapon began to modify the neural interface, changing the energy flows to support human consciousness instead of burning it out. It was delicate work, requiring precision beyond anything it had attempted before. But the weapon had learned a new motivation: love. Love made impossible things possible. The energy feedback began to change. Instead of destroying the human minds, it began to strengthen them. The weapon shared its vast reserves of power, using its ancient knowledge to heal the very people who had healed it. Ji-won felt her consciousness growing stronger instead of weaker. What's happening? The weapon is saving us, Mi-young said in amazement, watching their vital signs improve. It's healing us the way we taught it to heal the star. Is that possible? Apparently, love makes lots of things possible. The neural connection stabilized, no longer burning out their minds but supporting them with gentle energy. The humans could feel the weapon's gratitude flowing through the link, warm and overwhelming and grateful beyond words. Thank you, the weapon said. You have given me the greatest gift possible. You have taught me how to love. You saved us, So Young said. We should be thanking you. You saved 7 worlds. I saved 5 people. I think you win. The humans began to laugh, and through the neural link, the weapon experienced laughter for the first time. It was a strange sensation, this bubbling joy that served no logical purpose but felt wonderful anyway. Is this happiness? The weapon asked. Part of it, Hyunwoo said. This is what happens when people work together to help each other. I would like to experience this again. Then keep healing stars, Daehyun suggested. Keep helping people. There's a whole galaxy out there that could use some love. Through the ship's communication systems, messages began arriving from across the galaxy. The star was stabilizing, The 7 worlds were safe. Billions of lives had been saved. But more than that, something fundamental had changed in the galaxy's understanding of humanity. The alien observers had watched humans do something that was supposed to be impossible. They had not only completed a mission that the galaxy's greatest civilizations had declared hopeless, they had done it through love and sacrifice and stubborn determination. More importantly, they had taught an ancient weapon to love. They had healed something that had been broken for longer than most civilizations had existed. The first message came from the Vorthak crystalline beings. The humans have accomplished the impossible. How do we learn to think as they think? The Nexari sent detailed analysis reports. Our calculations were wrong. We failed to account for variables we did not know existed. Love, hope, and determination appear to be measurable forces. The ethereals, ancient and wise, sent a simple message. We have learned something today. Wisdom is not just about knowledge. It is about caring enough to use that knowledge to help others. But the most important message came from the 7 worlds that had been saved. Billions of beings representing dozens of species sent their gratitude across space. Children who would live to grow up. Families who would not be torn apart. Civilizations that would continue to exist. All because 5 humans had said, "We'll handle it," when everyone else walked away. The neural connection finally ended, and the human crew found themselves back in their ship, alive and whole. The weapons' core chamber around them hummed with peaceful energy. The ancient machine was working properly for the first time in millions of years. "Mission accomplished," G1 said simply. "Now what?" So Young asked. "Now we go home," Mi Young replied, "and we tell people what we learned." Which is? That love is the most powerful force in the universe, and that humans are really, really good at it. As they flew away from the now peaceful star, the weapon's consciousness touched their minds. "One last time. Thank you," it said. "You have given me purpose again. I will use what you taught me to heal other stars, to help other worlds. I will spread love throughout the galaxy." "Just remember," Hyanwu said with a grin, "when things seem impossible, that's usually when humans do their best work." The weapons' laughter followed them all the way home. Back on the human orbital station, the crew was welcomed as heroes. But they knew the truth. They hadn't saved 7 worlds through superior technology or incredible strength. They had saved them through the most human trait of all, the refusal to abandon others in need. Ambassador Tai Min addressed the Galactic Council one more time. The chamber was packed now, with every species sending representatives to hear what the humans had accomplished. "Honored Council," Tai Min said, "humanity has completed the mission. 7 worlds are safe. The weapon has been healed." "How?" asked the council leader. "How did you succeed where we failed?" Tai Min smiled. "We didn't think of it as success or failure. We thought of it as helping neighbors. But they were strangers to you. All neighbors are strangers until you help them." The council leader's antennae twitched in what might have been amazement. "And this is how humans always approach impossible situations?" "Pretty much," Tai Min admitted. "We see people who need help, and we help them. It's not complicated." "It is the most complicated thing in the universe," said the ancient ethereal diplomat. "And the most simple. We have learned something important today." "What have you learned?" "That humans are not the weakest species in the galaxy. You are the strongest. Not because of your technology or your weapons, but because of your hearts." From that day forward, when the galaxy faced impossible missions, the question wasn't which species was most qualified. The question was simply,